Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wolf Tribe. Today, we're doing something special. We are going a deep dive into some of the best TV shows that lasted 5 or more seasons. And I'll break down not just why they're good, but the struggles their characters are facing that make these shows truly stand out. Let's start with Better Call Saul. This show is a masterpiece, a prequel to Breaking Bad that somehow stands on its own. By the time it wrapped up in 2022, it had 6 seasons of pure brilliance. At its core, this is the story of Jimmy McGill, a guy trying to escape the shadow of his con artist past.
I was in that court back there, saving people's lives, so...
Oh, gee, that's swell.
And reinvent himself as a legit lawyer. But what's so gripping is the tug of war inside him. Jimmy versus Saul Goodman. On one side, you've got Jimmy, who really wants to be respected by his brother Chuck, by the legal world, by Kim. And on the other, you've got Saul, the persona that lets him survive.
Mr. Goodman? Best decision you've ever made.
Make money and bend the rules. Every character is fighting something. Chuck is fighting against his own insecurities and illness while trying to hold on to his superiority over Jimmy. Kim is fighting her professional ethics versus her personal loyalty to Jimmy. And then you've got Mike Ehrmantraut, the fixer, fighting to provide for his family while keeping his moral compass, even as he slips deeper into crime. The beauty of Better Call Saul is that it's not just about whether Jimmy becomes Saul. It's about whether he ever had a chance to not become Saul. Next up, The Crown. 6 seasons spanning decades of Queen Elizabeth II's reign. Now, what's brilliant about this show isn't just the lavish sets or the historical accuracy, it's how it humanizes power. Elizabeth is constantly fighting for the monarchy itself. This idea that the crown must survive at all costs, even if it means sacrificing personal desires. That's her eternal conflict, duty versus self. Prince Philip? He's fighting against the role of being overshadowed, a man constantly questioning his relevance beside a queen. Charles, on the other hand, is fighting for personal freedom, love, and identity in a system that's designed to strip all of that away. The Crown works because it doesn't just show us politics and royalty. It shows us people stuck in a cage made of tradition, image, and expectation. The fight isn't with armies, it's with themselves, with the world watching. Then, of course, Stranger Things. By the time its 5th season lands, it will have dominated almost a full decade of TV. At its core, this is about a group of kids, and now young adults, fighting against forces literally from another world. But the real hook is the emotional fight. Eleven is battling to understand her identity. Is she just a weapon, or can she be loved for who she is? Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and Will are fighting for friendship and belonging in a world that keeps trying to pull them apart. And the adults, Hopper, Joyce, they're fighting for family, for second chances, for survival. Each season takes the sci-fi horror of the Upside Down and uses it as a mirror for human struggles, trauma, loss, identity, love. Stranger Things works because the monsters aren't just out there, they're inside the characters too. The Expanse is easily one of the most ambitious sci-fi shows of the past decade. It doesn't just give us spaceships and aliens, it gives us politics, class struggle, and the question of what it means to be human in a divided solar system. The central conflict is between Earth Mars, and the Belters. Earth represents the old power, holding on to dominance through wealth and military might. Mars represents ambition, a society trying to prove itself and build something new. And the Belters, they represent the oppressed, the workers of space, who live on scraps while fighting for dignity. The political stakes are massive, but what makes the show powerful are the personal battles within that conflict. James Holden, the captain of the Rocinante, becomes the reluctant moral center. He constantly tries to do the right thing, but what right means changes depending on perspective. His fight is against corruption, injustice, and sometimes even his own crew's doubts. Naomi Nagata has one of the deepest arcs. She's torn between her love for Holden and her ties to her past with the radical Belter cause. Amos Burton is fascinating because his fight is entirely internal, trying to navigate morality without a compass, trying to stay human despite a violent upbringing. The show also forces us to think about survival versus morality. Characters like Avasarala, the Earth politician, fight for survival of her people, but constantly bend ethical lines to do so. Martian defectors wrestle with loyalty and betrayal. The proto-molecule storyline layers in existential questions. What happens when humanity encounters something so far beyond us? By the end of 6 seasons, The Expanse shows that the biggest wars aren't just fought with spaceships. They're fought within ideologies, between classes, and inside every character trying to balance survival with humanity. Even though The Walking Dead started before 2015, it remained a cultural giant throughout the decade, finishing its run in 2022 after 11 seasons. At first glance, it's a zombie survival show, but what makes it endure is that it isn't about the dead, it's about the living, and how humans fight for morality, survival, and leadership in a collapsing world. Rick Grimes is the heart of the series for much of its run. His fight is always between morality and necessity. Do you protect your people at all costs, even if it means losing your humanity? Or do you cling to ethics and risk losing everything? Over the years, we see Rick transform from a hopeful sheriff's deputy into a hardened, ruthless leader, a man who often questions whether he's becoming the very kind of monster he's trying to fight against. The supporting characters deepen these themes. Daryl Dixon's fight is against his own past and his own self-doubt, transforming from a loner into a loyal brother figure and protector. Carol's evolution is one of the most powerful. She begins as a quiet, abused housewife, but grows into one of the most strategic, ruthless survivors in the apocalypse. Then you have figures like Negan, who complicate the morality of the story. Once a brutal dictator, later a man searching for redemption. What's brilliant about The Walking Dead is that every villain, the Governor, Negan, Alpha, is a reflection of what the survivors could become if they choose power and fear over humanity. The zombies are almost secondary. The real danger is always other humans and the choices they make under pressure. Across its 11 seasons, the show evolves into a meditation on civilization itself. What do we fight for when the world ends? Family, power, survival, hope. Each character's arc answers that question differently, and that's why the show lasted as long as it did. Finally, we have The Boys, a show that flips the superhero genre on its head. Instead of heroes fighting villains, it's about regular people fighting back against heroes who are corrupted by power, fame, and corporate greed. With its fourth season in 2024 and more on the way, it's become one of the defining shows of the era. The central conflict is between Homelander, the most powerful hero in the world, and the group known as the Boys, led by Billy Butcher. Homelander represents unchecked power. He's fighting for dominance, control, and the love of the public. But his insecurities make him unstable and terrifying. Butcher, on the other hand, fights for revenge against Supes after personal tragedy, but his methods make him almost as ruthless as the enemies he hates. Each character has their own war. Huey fights for courage and independence, struggling to step out of his role as the ordinary guy Starlight fights against corruption within the Seven, while staying true to her own ideals. Even Supes like Queen Maeve are fighting for redemption and freedom from the system that exploits them. What makes The Boys brilliant is its commentary on power. Superheroes in this world aren't symbols of hope. They're products of capitalism, branding.
The whole thing really is all about me.
Please like and subscribe to my channel. Tell me your thoughts on TV shows in this era in the comments.